Welcome to your second tutorial on a complete user authentication system with CakePHP. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at creating our database on our database management system, which is phpMyAdmin, and then reverse engineering it to create our migrations for us. Now we're going to create a users table because we're making a user authentication system, and we're going to say go. In CakePHP, you can create your migrations first, then create your tables second, or you can create your tables and then create your migrations. Alright, so here we are going to have our ID, we have email, our password, we have phone. These are the user details. We can say when the user was created and when this profile was modified. So the user ID is integer, and we're expecting 11 characters, and the email should be variable character, and we are expecting it to not be more than 255, and the password is variable character too. We'll make sure that it's not more than 255, and the phone number, it's actually not a number, it's a string, so we put it at 255. Of course, these numbers are just too big for phone numbers. You can use smaller values for yours, but I like to use default. So this is date time, created is date time, and modified is date time. Alright, and we're going to leave them empty. And the next thing we're going to check is to make sure that this ID field auto increments, and then it's primary key, and we're going to say okay, we're good to go. Then we're going to scroll down towards the right. You'll see this button here called save. Hit on it once and your database table is created. Now our table is created, we're going to go to our command prompt to run a migration to a command on the command prompt so that this table will be created as a migration for us. Now what we will do is to head over to our command prompt, and this is where we're going to write the cake. Now to run cake bake commands in your command prompt, you need to make sure that you are inside the bin folder. Remember, this is our root folder, and then this is the bin folder. So we have to navigate into our bin folder. I'll write cd bin, and there we are inside our bin folder. Then we can run commands. So this is the command we're supposed to run, and of course we are already in the bin folder, so we'll delete this. So we're in the bin folder, we'll run cake bake migration snapshot initial. This converts this to a migration, and this is amazing about CakePHP. So we hit enter, and then we wait a few seconds. Remember, if you wait more than a few seconds and this has not completed, just type some random keys on your keyboard to wake up your command prompt. Alright, so we're going to wait for it to finish baking the migration. When the baking is complete, we are going to see some migration files inside our SRC. There we are in our bin. We'll go to our config, and then we'll see this migrations folder that has been created. Remember, it may not have been here initially, but once you run your first migration, the migrations folder is created. So when we go into our migrations folder, we'll see that CakePHP has created an initial migrations for us. So that is how you do it when you want to reverse engineer your migrations. Alright, so the next thing we are going to do is to get back and start coding on our user model. Now, but before we do that, we need to make sure that we create our model, controllers, and views. Remember that we have in our SRC, we have controller. Our user's controller doesn't exist yet, and then we have model. As you can see, none of our users models that exist yet. Then we have views, which is currently called templates, and of course we don't have a user template yet. As you can see, there is no user folder here. Now what we will do is to, instead of creating it manually one by one, we can just run a simple command on the console, and we will have our user files created. So what we'll call it, cake bake all users. Users is the name of the database table we have here. So this is our database table. So we're saying bake all users, which means bake our models, controllers, and views for us. If you wanted to bake only controllers, you can say cake bake controller users. Alright, so but what we want right now is everything. So we hit enter and then we wait a few more seconds. Remember, at any point, if your command prompt starts taking a long time, you just type some random keys on your keyboard and it will start working. Alright, so Cake has baked all these files for us. As you can see, if you look well, you see that it's created a test case for us, created a template, created templates for us, and then of course created a whole lot of things for us. So let's just go back to all those folders we checked out before in our SRC. If we're back there and we hit the controller, you see that users controller has already been created. And if we get back to model, we see that we have a user model already, and so on and so forth. If we get back to our templates, we see that there's a user folder already here, and if we open this user folder, we'll see that we have 4 views already created for us. Add for adding a new user, the interface for adding a new user, then edit, then we have index, the interface that lists all users, then we have views. Remember, we've not done anything on routing, but CakePHP using convention has already predicted the correct route for us, which means if we want to see index, let us first of all look at what index is in the controller. So if we get back to our SRC, hit on controllers, users controller, let us see what code they wrote about displaying or about what will display on the index. This is the index method in the users controller, as you can see, and inside this index method there is basically saying get all users and paginate them, and of course transfer them to the views with compact. And that is just what is on this file. Of course we can come back and start modifying it to look better, but if we want to see this file, it is available in, when we get back to our code, remember this is our default code. If we get back to our code, we will see, if we write users and hit enter, it will display our index file for us. That's our index file. If we say users add and hit enter, CakePHP has already created an add page for us. Now, are you noticing that there is no time here? There's no created and modified, because if you go back to our database, see that we have these 2 files here. We have created and modified. Now, CakePHP automatically knows those names as time fields, so it hides them and does those calculations of time automatically for you. So as you can see, we can already add users and so on and so forth, and there is already a menu built for us by CakePHP, and this is amazing. Alright, the next thing we're going to look at is, now we understand the routing, a whole lot of things are also going to come along whilst we build this application. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to go to the settings and make sure that when somebody visits our default file, our default root folder, it should bring us to the index. As you can see, there is an error because there is no login. It's trying to send us to login, and if you remember clearly in the past video, in the routes file, we just told you that if somebody visits the default, it should just take the person to login. Now we are going to change this to add user. So if we come here and refresh to bring us to add user, and there we are. So thank you very much. See you in the next tutorial, where we'll configure our authentication parameters and authenticate this user so that people can actually create a new account, which is sign up, and then people can log in. Thank you very much. See you in the next video tutorial.